Episode, it's time for more love, death, and robots. Star Wars blasts away from trilogies, pew pew, and Marvel has a return in mind for Daredevil. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. I told on the Lakers Fast Break they could give us a 10-star review if they could, but unfortunately Apple only has it set up for 5. So 5 works for us. 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can in sports right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, the Lakers Fast Break, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Vampires and Vitae, Wizards and Wine, and everything that we do in the realm of tabletop RPGs, because we are the numero uno, number one tabletop RPG streamer on Facebook. You got to check out all the great games, including Wizards and Wine, Demolition Force, Vampires and Vitae, all the great games that Mitch runs on the weekends, everything that we do when it concerns tabletop RPGs on Facebook. Plus, also as well on Facebook, you can catch the latest news and trends in pop culture right there at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. And if you can support all of that, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. It is the mastermind behind so many things that we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, and Vampires and Vitae, and Wizards and Wine. Again, you got to go ahead and check out what she's doing today at Wizards and Wine and Vampires and Vitae, wherever you get your podcasts. It is my good friend indeed, hoping for some good things for her and her husband, Robbie Ross, this weekend when it concerns the Pop Culture Cosmos and Vampires and Vitae. It is my good friend. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda, great to have you back here. No, it's another late deal for you, but I am so glad you get to sit in the big chair with me and talk pop culture once again.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. I know there's some good things in the background that we're talking about, that we're thinking about, that we're kind of hoping that we'll be able to get done. So hopefully we can make some big announcements in the coming weeks on that. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But for now, we have a fantastic show lined up for you. Right now, I wanted to go ahead and say and let everybody know that after everything is all said and done when it concerns the upfronts for television here in the States, there are so many TV shows that were affected by it, both good and bad.
Right.
And here on the back end of the show is Dawn Fobbs from the Mother Daughter Ish podcast. She's going to stop by, like I said, on the back end of the show, talking about the upfronts. And yes, we'll go over all the good, the bad, and the upcoming when it concerns the upfronts and all the broadcast TV shows that are coming up. Plus, also as well, Melinda and I are going to be talking about a lot of cool things, including Marvel and Star Wars, because there's a lot of Marvel and Star Wars on the way. Marvel was there at the upfronts talking about She-Hulk. So we got a debut trailer for She-Hulk, plus some other good announcements there on which television show last year was the most watched from Marvel. So we'll let you know on which was the most popular Marvel show on Disney Plus as well. Plus also, Kathleen Kennedy was quoted recently, the head of Star Wars, about a different direction for the Star Wars movies. So we'll talk about that on the back end. It is since we were talking trailers with the She-Hulk trailer, there was another trailer battle going on, as we love to say here on the show. The trailer battle is on when it concerns The Boys versus the Umbrella Academy on Netflix, and The Boys on Amazon Prime. Both of those shows are debuting in their third season on Netflix and Amazon Prime in June. So we talk about the trailers and what we liked and maybe not liked on both of those trailers coming up as well. But first, my friend, it is the stuff that was announced by Kevin Feige, and there's something that was not announced by Kevin Feige that was uncovered by Variety. And it was announced earlier today by Variety. They broke the story that a new Daredevil, well, we all knew a Daredevil was going to be on the way, but it's now official as Variety broke the story that a Daredevil series is in development. They've already attached writers to it. It looks to be something that is going to be a definite, probably sometime, I'm saying at this point, maybe late next year, fall next year at the earliest. I wouldn't expect anything sooner. But your thoughts on Daredevil now heading to Disney Plus in, I'd say, like I said, probably late 2023.
As long as they're working with I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the actor's name. Was
Charlie
it
Cox?
Charlie Cox?
Of
Was
course, you
yeah,
saw him at Spider-Man No Way Home. You
yeah.
also saw him all over the place talking about that. Yeah, you knew it was inevitable that we were going to have him back on in some form or fashion. He was not really involved in Hawkeye, but there, obviously you had Vincent D'Onofrio playing the Kingpin in that show. So it looks more and more like we'll be seeing both those characters in a big form, which I know you're happy about, especially with the Kingpin
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
new Daredevil series.
Yeah. He's just so good, honestly. It's Vincent D'Onofrio, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh man, he's so good. Yeah. As long as those two people are involved, I'm gonna watch it. That's the
Well,
bottom line for me.
Charlie Cox also has been rumored to be playing a part in the She-Hulk
Yeah.
series that's coming out later this year in August because of the fact that he's a lawyer, and of course, She-Hulk, she's a
Right.
lawyer.
That's right.
So
Yes.
yes, when it concerns those two, you'd think there's going to be an inevitable courtroom scene and a courtroom battle, or they could be working together, but most likely a courtroom battle, not superhero battle per se, but courtroom battle with words, not actions.
The
That
pen
could be
is
coming up.
mightier and all of that, right?
Yeah, something like that. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about the She-Hulk trailer in a second. But with Daredevil, this is something, again, as you saw on Netflix, was the top rated Marvel Netflix show. It was something that I think of any of the shows that was canceled, I think that was the one that was hardest for Netflix to cut. And there is still such a following for it. People were so happy when Charlie Cox was rumored to be in the new Spider-Man movie, and he eventually was. His scene was just a few minutes in, but it was still there, and it was still great to have him a part of it. So having Charlie Cox involved with this and having him front his own series is great, but it's going to be on Disney Plus, and we saw with Moon Knight that it gets into the direction of what those Netflix series are as far as violence, as far as a harder edge. We all know that saw the Netflix Marvel series Daredevil on Netflix that it was a very much an R-rated show. So your thoughts? Will Disney Plus continue that harder edge for a new Daredevil series?
Honestly, I think they're going to have to at this point. I think that as long as they're going to continue to produce Marvel content, they have to get more and more comfortable with higher and higher ratings. Not ratings, sorry. No, that is correct.
Have
Higher
more
and
people
higher.
watching?
Yeah, no, not for people watching, but for
Or
uh,
as far as the number, the amount of violence, the possibility of going
yeah,
from a
all of that
PG
kind
to
of
a
stuff.
PG-13 to an
Ex
R,
exactly, yeah, they've gotta continue to be comfortable with that because, comic books, write a certain way, and if you're gonna go see a comic book movie, you expect to see certain things in a comic book movie, and I think cutting those out, for, the sake of young eyes that, should have parental controls on your remote controls and all of that good stuff.
which they added in on Disney Plus.
Absolutely, so
So now
I
you can lock it out from Robbie, so you
yeah.
can't watch the bad stuff.
Right? So, just watch the stuff that I'm not gonna be at home, and so he can't watch it first, just lock
That's
him out of it.
correct. Absolutely.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
so
Under the
smart.
guise of, I'm not sure you should watch alone, so I've got to be sure and be there with you to watch it.
Yeah, but no, I think that, the as long as they're comfortable with continuing to do that kind of content, I think that it's important that they do it.
Hmm.
It's like, at some point, are we gonna see yeah, I guess we probably already have, where we've had, oh my goodness, Deadpool?
Well, Deadpool hasn't been on Disney Plus yet. Deadpool, the movies
Right.
have been on FX, Hulu. They've obviously been a big hit in the movies. Deadpool 3, when that eventually gets made, and they did do a little bit of a snippet teaser, a joke teaser on Instagram on the Deadpool 3 official page this week. So that was kind of funny what they did,
Yeah.
and talking about the commercial involvement and all that, with most of the companies being owned by Ryan Reynolds that were
Right.
in it. So I think that Deadpool 3 has to be a natural for Disney Plus. I think it
Yeah.
has to migrate once it's done its theatrical run for Disney Plus and be that R-rated Deadpool. I know they did a PG-13 of Deadpool 2, and I don't think it went over quite as well. It was just an extra money grab, and I guess it did okay, but obviously not to the extent of what the R-rated Deadpools did. But yeah, I think at some point in time they're going to have to start going into the harder edge. And so by the time a Daredevil series comes out, I think more people will be comfortable watching a R-rated series on Disney Plus. I
Yeah.
think it's just something that they inevitably had to do. That's why I'm talking about always to you and to Josh, almost talking his ear off for now for over a year, about how they need to just buy Hulu, buy all the content, bring it all over on one platform, and be done with it. Because I'm not sure until they can go ahead and get all that content, get all that extra content and all that extra new content, that they will be able to reach that plateau which they're trying to reach. They're doing good now. They're in the 140 million range. They're gaining on Netflix. But can they catch up to Netflix? And this is one of the things that we talked about on our awesome Streaming 101 episode is Disney has to go ahead and start making some decisions if they want to get into that territory and get more content that's going to go ahead and be more to a general audience and to audiences that are not watching Disney Plus right now. And I think that's one thing that they have to get used to, is that they have to go a little bit harder edge at times in order to bring in more viewers.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. And I think they've already kind of made the commitment when they started to add the Marvel stuff to
Yeah.
Disney Plus. They already started to, whether they intended to or not.
Mhm.
So I can see it continuing, and I think that the same expectation for Marvel movies and shows that we've seen so far, I think that those expectations are still going to be there, and it's just a matter of Disney getting comfortable with putting R-rated content on their app,
And two,
basically.
3 months from now,
Yeah,
when Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness debuts on Disney Plus, because they're not going to put that on Hulu, they're going to put that movie on Disney Plus. They're gonna. It's just not. It's not a choice. It's not an option. It's going to go there. It has scary scenes, and it has things that people would normally say, "Hey, I don't want my kids to watch that." But if with a parental control there at Disney Plus, it's going to be able to alleviate a little bit of those concerns. But it's something that, again, like I said, that they're going to have to get used to if they want to go harder edge. This is what we're going to have to do to bring in, I think, a large enough audience to get them where they need to go.
yeah, I agree, and I think that continuing to maybe work on your parental control trolls and trying to really make it so parents can really lock that stuff down if they need to. I think that that's just good logical sense for Disney, and they seem to be making the correct decisions at this point. So I don't know. I guess I'll trust them, and I guess trust them with the content that we all love so much. So
I hope we do. I hope
yeah,
we can continue to trust them, because so far they've done pretty good when it
yeah,
concerns Marvel and Star Wars. It's the other content that they still need to go ahead and bring that gets people invested and wanting to come back to Disney Plus. They still need a third tier of new programming. And as I always say, and I always joke in the past couple of weeks, Sneakerella is not going to cut it. It's going to have to be something that maybe it's the Percy Jackson series when that finally comes out in 2023. Maybe it's something different. I still think a Tron series I think would go over well, but there has to be other series that people need to go ahead and check out that will be able to live up to those same kind of expectations that Marvel and Disney provide for Disney Plus. So we'll wait
yeah.
and see. Yeah.
I think that having a season with more than 6 episodes also, would be kind of a good move
Yeah,
for that as well.
absolutely.
And I understand that the Star Wars movies and all of that stuff are and shows, I understand that they cost an incredible amount of money to produce. I understand that. But this is the big D that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm
I,
pretty sure they
but
could
that's
manage to
again,
keep
Netflix
up.
has already set the precedent on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these suits. I mean, I guess Josh and I were talking about, oh, yeah, it's 10, 11, 12 episodes on Halo. No, it isn't. They already put their season one ending episode this week, which I'm going to talk about with TJ on the Monday show, for Halo. So it ended at 9 episodes, and that's a longer one when concerned streaming. Most of these streaming, like you said, episodes, these streaming series, they only go 6 episodes now, 7 episodes. 9 seems to be pushing it for a lot of these series. I think that's the way these streaming outlets like it. Short, sweet, and put them out there so we can get them out in less than a year time frame each and every year.
Yeah, I suppose so. But then you just, as we have seen with Disney, and as you heard us talk about ad nauseum in the streaming 101 episode, was just you're if you do 6 episodes, you're going to have gaps
Yeah,
between huge gaps between your
it's true.
content.
Yeah.
So if they had just taken that 6 and made it 12, then we wouldn't have had this giant gap.
And I wouldn't have ever found Severance, which I absolutely love. And
Right.
on this time gap in between what we've seen with Moon Knight and Kenobi, that gap, Kenobi's coming out next week.
Yeah.
I got a chance to watch and catch up with Upload season 1 and 2, and that is a
That's
great
a cute
show.
show, isn't it?
It is a very cute show. I love the premise. Like I said, production values are, if they were just a little bit better, it would enhance even more. But I love the romantic story. It's a great romantic comedy. I really love
Yeah.
the back and forth on that. Will they or won't they or will they? And it's been a great story to follow, even though they had a limited number of episodes. Again, 7 episodes in season 2, but still a great show and a great watch. And thank Disney Plus for that, because I got a chance to watch it, because there was nothing I really wanted to see on Disney Plus after Moon Knight ended. So I hopped over to Amazon Prime, and that's what I found, Upload. So thank you for Disney Plus for that. But that's not the way you're supposed to do it. So
Right.
exactly. So before we head to the break, I wanted to go ahead and mention real quick that the top Marvel show that was announced by Kevin Feige, much to my chagrin, but I kind of knew it already, was not Hawkeye, but it was the top rated show, was Loki, because I think it really came off hot off the heels of both the Falcon and Winter Soldier and
Yes.
WandaVision, and it started growing and growing and growing. So Loki was the highest rated show. Any thoughts on that before we head to the break?
Yeah, that's not a huge surprise. I mean, Tom Hiddleston as Loki is amazing to watch on
Yeah,
screen.
I
It
agree.
really is. And yeah, he could, I'm sure he would be horrified to hear me actually say it, because me and Tom are close.
Of course.
But I think that if he only played Loki for the rest of his career, I don't think that he'll ever be out of work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
I just think that he brings so much to the character, and I think that he plays the character so well that it's just a given at this point. I don't think that they can recast Loki.
no. And I can tell you right now, there's no way they could tell me that they intended Loki to be lasting 10 years later. They
Oh yeah,
thought he
no,
was going to be a one and done deal. I'm just
yeah,
convinced that they thought he was going to be a one and done deal. And then he's done so well. He has made this role. Like, for instance, Wong. Wong has been a major part of this phase because he is such a beloved character, because of the great job that
yeah,
Benedict Wong has done. Just these Marvel characters, these actors that are able to embrace these roles so well, seemingly get an extended life. And Kevin Feige sees that, and the fans just really pounce on it and just really are so supportive. So, yes, great news for Tom Hiddleston as they head into a Loki season 2 when that comes up either later this year, or I'm assuming 2023 as well. But what are your thoughts out there on what Marvel announced during the upfronts and the announcement or the breaking news made by Variety that a Daredevil show is on the way? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, there's still much more to talk about on today's program. The Star Wars. Speaking of the other side of Disney, we talked about Star Wars a little bit. Kathleen Kennedy was quoted on a interview saying that their hesitancy, first of all, they're not going to, after the debacle with Solo, a Star Wars story, after that debacle, they're not going to go ahead and recast favorite characters again. They're not going to approach that. So that's a done deal. They're not going to be able to do that anymore because of what happened with Solo. But one of the things that has been now inferred is that they are going to move away from standard trilogies like they've done before in the past movie universe for all their stuff. They're going to go ahead and go into more concurrent storytelling. Obviously, they've had success with The Mandalorian, and that's been a big influence on this decision that was made. Rian Johnson was in development for a Star Wars trilogy, and that looks to be bye-bye at the very least. And there's more coming along the way with Taika Waititi stuff and other things that are being as far as being produced. I know that, but it's going to be more of a consistent storytelling format, both in television and in movie formats for the Star Wars IP going forward. Your thoughts on this? I think it's a great move because obviously after The Last Skywalker, things weren't looking great for the Star Wars brand on film and movies, and at that time on television as well, because we didn't know what to expect for The Mandalorian. But your thoughts on this new direction for Star Wars?
Yeah, I think it was inevitable. I mean, you can only tell so many stories about the Skywalkers.
Mhm.
You can only keep going back to that well so many times before you have to find some new stuff to start to tell stories about. And please don't at me because I'm saying we don't need the Skywalkers anymore in Star Wars. That's not what I'm saying. I get it. All I'm saying is that, we need to find the next wave of things that it's going to continue to pull and push the Star Wars franchise forward. And, they seem to be getting it right with stuff like The Mandalorian. So I'm going to continue to feel optimistic about it. I will choose optimism.
Absolutely. Even though The Mandalorian is set after Return of the Jedi, but before some of the stuff that we've seen in the Star Wars universe, it's so funny because it is kind of a different story, but
Right.
yet it's still tied into the original series, so to speak. And then what we've talked about with the Skywalker saga, they said or inferred that the Kenobi series will probably be the last thing that you see in that universe for a while. I think for a while is the answer that I'm looking for, but I don't think it's going to be a forever thing. Your thoughts? Will they approach the Skywalker timeline again? I think that they will.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's classic Star Wars stuff.
Yeah,
And I do think that though they do need to step away from it for a little while. They do need to explore other corners and pockets of universes I like I said before, I'm just going to trust them to make correct decisions on that one. And I mean, are we going to see great grandpa Luke? I don't know.
who knows? Indeed,
you know?
he'll come back as a Force ghost type deal. So yes, absolutely. So that'll be something interesting to see if how Star Wars the IP evolves because they've had such great success with Mandalorian and they're off shooting off that. But after Ahsoka and after Kenobi, that whole timeline as far as anything relating to the Skywalkers, they're going to kind of distance themselves little by little away from that. So we'll see what happens. But I still think again there's still the Rogue One spinoff as well that they still have got that's in production and/or that's going to be coming up pretty soon as well. So I don't think that they can really get away from the Star Wars Skywalker timeline. They're just going to kind of just like have it still within reach. It's still going to be within reach somehow. There's still going to be some type of always connection to it in some form or fashion, I believe. They will probably try to create a different universe at some point in time. I think they have to ultimately, but again, it's all about getting new viewers into the Star Wars experience, and so far, the stuff on Disney Plus has done just that.
Yeah, I want to know the story behind the band in the cantina.
There you go.
Tell me that story. Exactly. Tell me that story. How did they
Yeah,
get there?
absolutely,
And
absolutely,
did they
and
have to audition? I don't know.
absolutely. So yeah, I would agree with you on that. Yeah, that should be like let's do it. Did they do like a live performance type deal? Did they have to go on like a reality show and things of
Yeah,
that
were
nature?
they like American Idol winners?
And what happened to the losers? Were they fed down? Did they go, to the bantha or just
Right.
ate them up for dinner as like, and then used a toothpick in their teeth before, like that
Yeah.
after the, yeah. So we'll see what happens though with the Star Wars universe and if it really goes into a galaxy far, far away from the Skywalker timeline. But what are your thoughts on those comments made by Kathleen Kennedy, head of Star Wars, on the direction for Star Wars? Please let us know. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the break, and right after that, Don Fobbs from the Mother Daughter Ish podcast talking about the upfronts with me coming up after the break. Wanted to ask you real quick did you get a chance to see the season 3 trailers for the Umbrella Academy and also the boys? And this is so funny because you almost have to put these all to both these. They start around the same time. They come around each year around the same time. They both have these anti kind of superhero, anti superheroes, kind of anti hero type themes, which so many other series and shows have now jumped on since their successes of both of those series. And also the just these series have done so well for, and Doom Patrol, which also came out the same time as well, around that time. All three of them were just like together back to back to back. And the season 3 trailers looks like an evolvement of Skyland, of just basically just everything going on within the realm of the boys. But your thoughts, as you got a chance to check out these trailers, looks like a battle's coming up for one between the houses on the Umbrella Academy, and it looks like a showdown could be in store as well with a new character in the boys that I'm really excited for as well.
Yes, the Winchesters are coming to the boys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, sort of. In my mind, that's what's
Soldier
happening.
Boy, Soldier
Yeah,
Boy is coming. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So
So the thing with these two series is great grammar. Is that both of them I watched for the first season.
mhm.
And then I kind of fell off about halfway through the second season, and I did never finish the second season for either of
Shame
those
on you,
shows. I
especially the
know.
boys.
I know, because it was really good. I don't know what took me off of it. I'm not sure what it
Anthony
was.
Starr's Homelander on the boys is simply just fantastic viewing, and he's again going to be a major part. His development is going to be again a major part of season 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the best that I can give you for now with the trailers is um maybe I'll finish the second season before I sit down and give the third seasons of both shows a shot. I don't know. I just have funny feelings about those shows, and I'm not sure exactly what they are.
Well, yeah, why is that?
I
You're
don't
not.
know. 'Cause I love an anti-hero. I
Yeah.
really do, and, all of that I find very, very intriguing, but with both of these shows, I don't know what it is. I'm just like, "Huh, I don't know." I feel like I've seen it all before, and I don't know why I feel that way.
Well, it's so funny because in the Umbrella Academy, you've got a showdown that is going to immediately take place at the end of season 2. Spoilers that looks like to be setting up between the Sparrow Academy and the Hargreaves. It's just going at the Umbrella Academy and the Sparrow Academy. So it looks like that is going to be a major showdown in that season 3 and how that develops for that series. That's always been a good show for me that I will catch, but it's not a must. I gotta see a day one type show.
Right.
But The Boys has been something that I thought is one of the best shows I've seen on television in the past decade. I think it's just been something that has continued in season 2 that's really been good for me. And I look forward to seeing what's going to take place in season 3. Homelander, again, Anthony Starr has been great. Carl Urban as his
Yeah, I mean, that
but he's been a great thing as well. He's been great as well in the series.
yeah, and that particular,
Dynamic.
yeah, between the 2 of them, I did really enjoy. I thought that was very well done, very well acted, and very well written.
And of
So,
course, too, if you watch the trailer, you'll see that this is not spoilers because the series hasn't started yet. But
right.
he gets the opportunity to take the Compound V, Carl Urban's character, Butcher. He's going to be able to get the opportunity to take Compound V for 24 hours and have the powers to see if he can go ahead and face off against Homelander. So, if
Right.
at the end of season 3 he actually is able to do that, it will obviously be a very momentous battle, and everybody will be geeking out over that.
Oh,
I
for
rest
sure.
assured. So yeah, absolutely. So definitely looking forward to that. But yes, for me, The Boys is a must watch. Umbrella Academy is a good watch. It's something I will catch, but not right away. Doom Patrol, I think, is for me has fallen into that category of I will catch it when I can. I think that even though it's still a pretty good show, just for some reason, like you said, like you're experiencing with season 2 of Umbrella Academy and The Boys, it's just something that I was going to catch it. I meant to catch it. I was going to go follow it through, but season
Yeah.
2, just something happened. So I think I got to go ahead and still check it out. Maybe I will just before the new season, but it's just not a priority for me. So It's weird how that happens because it's still, to me, a pretty good show. But when you see the battle between these two coming up, and again, this is going to be not exactly at the same time period, but one's coming out in earlier June in The Boys on June 3rd with episodes. First two episodes are going to drop June 3rd, and then episodes every week thereafter. So they will be competing by the end of the month when Umbrella Academy drops in season 3 on the 22nd of June. But your thoughts on this battle between the two before we head to the break?
Bring it. I want to see it. I'm dying to see it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, you
Yeah.
finish season 2 first. You should
No,
finish
I
season 2
mean,
first.
there's always homework. I know.
Yes, there's always homework indeed. But if everyone out there, please, if you have thoughts on the latest trailers and the upcoming season threes for Umbrella Academy, and also as well The Boys. The Boys coming up, starting with 2 episodes on June the 3rd on Amazon Prime, and June 22nd is the debut of season 3 on Netflix for The Umbrella Academy. That comes hot on the heels a month after the first part of season 4 of Stranger Things coming up next week. So I know a lot of people are excited for that. But if you have thoughts on The Umbrella Academy versus The Boys, please let us know popculturecosmos@yahoo.com and let us know if you like both of them, if you prefer one over the other, if you would think one is really good and one is really bad. Please let us know your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, just want to let you know, coming up after the break, I've got some great things, a great conversation in place with Don Fobbs from the Mother Daughter Ish podcast. The upfronts, the major decisions that were made for the television universe on the broadcast side in the fall was made, and they showcased, and they got the new schedules out. We'll talk about what's coming out, what's still there, and what hit and what bit the dust as far as television shows. That's coming up after the break. And then after that, Melinda and I are back to talk about the weekend box office, and also as well pay respect to one of the great composers for movies of the past century. We're going to talk about that coming up on the back end of the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. It's the PCC Multiverse. Want to thank so much Dawn Fobbs for stopping by. Got to check out what she's doing today at the Mother Daughter Ish podcast. Got to remember as well, Melinda is the grand host of so much that we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. She is the grand hostess of the mostess when it comes to Wizards and Wine, which she does each and every week as she tortures some poor helpless souls that she calls friends.
Look, it's the Tomb of Annihilation. It was not going to go well for anybody.
Need I say more? Need I say more? But please check out Wizards and Wine, either the stream or podcast, each and every week when it drops on Apple Podcasts or right there at Facebook at Pop Culture Cosmos. Plus, how she also terrorizes her husband as he tries to DM as the Vampires and Vitae podcast. That hits on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook and then also wherever you get your podcasts. It's great listening. It's a fun time. Roger from Demolition Force, our DM on Mondays, he's there. You've got a great crew there. Before we head on out, give a little shout out to Vampires of Vitae and Wizards of Wine and what it's all about.
So, just to kind of piggyback a little bit on what you were saying about me giving Robbie a hard time at the table.
You better.
Well, I mean, so in the episode that, oh, see, now maybe I can't talk about it at all. Sorry about
Spoilers. Spoilers.
Yeah, but something happens in this episode to a an NPC, so a character that like Robbie runs. And he was expecting to have that character for a lot longer. So he's had to rewrite a major part of the campaign over the last few days.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you definitely want to find out what happened there. That episode drops 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday morning. So check that one out. And for Wizards and Wine, I am so close to getting ready to run my session 0 to kick off the Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I've got all of the hard work done. Now it's just up to the players to come in and make all of my hard work moot.
Absolutely. As
As
only
it goes.
yes, as only a great crew can do. So please go
Absolutely.
ahead and be part of the great adventures that they have at Vampires and Vitae and also as well Wizards and Wine, wherever you get your podcasts, or right there at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. My friend, before we head on out, I wanted to go ahead and give everybody the update on this week's box office. Counter programming to Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, and then the upcoming Top Gun Maverick, which by this time next week everybody will forget about, and that is Downtown Abbey, the return. Downtown Abbey 2, the sequel, whatever you want to call it. Downtown Abbey has made a return, and the first one was a pretty good hit, under the radar hit, but actually made quite a bit of money. That's why they're doing this again. And
Yeah.
the idea of counter programming worked when the first movie came out. The audience that we've talked about already on the show, as far as the older demographic that is catered to this type, or the movie is targeted toward that group, hasn't really come back strong since the pandemic, and people are just starting to get back to theaters and all that. As a measure of counter programming, do you think that Downtown Abbey, A New Era, which is getting okay ratings in the mid 60s, just like the other movie we're going to talk about before we head on out, do you think Downtown Abbey, A New Era can be a successful counter programming to what we're seeing with Doctor Strange and next week's Top Gun Maverick?
Yeah, I like to think so. I think that Downton Abbey has enough of a passionate fan base, um, that I think that it is going to be enough to get them to go back out and go to the movies again. I think there's going to be an awful lot of nights out for dinner and a movie. I can see a lot of that happening with people, with the intention of going to see the new Downton Abbey movie. Um, I think that having an option for people besides comic book movies and besides, a horror movie, and besides, the latest animated offering is always a smart move. The question is getting that kind of movie right, because I think it is a very particular type of movie. And I think that Downton Abbey has enough of all of the good stuff, that it's gonna get people back out to the theaters. I really do. I think that people are ready to get back to the theater in that particular age group that you're talking about, and that demographic that you reference a lot. And I think that people are they're ready to get back to going out and getting back into the movies and stuff.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so, because the movie's gotten decent reviews. Again, right now it's sitting at a 63 on Metacritic, so it's not a perceivably bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. And
Right.
if it holds up anywhere near what the original did, then it could be some good signs for that demographic coming back to the theaters again as counter programming to the big blockbusters. Although I did want to mention that your bet and your thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder could be very real, as far as that being the biggest hit of the summer, because it is going to trend Doctor Strange right around $1 billion, but just at $1 billion, right around. It's made over 700 million right now, but I don't see it doing so far above $1 billion that Thor: Love and Thunder can't reach it. So could be the case. It just depends on how much in legs does it have. Does it have a better second and third week than Doctor Strange? And I think that's going to be the key to it. So because Doctor Strange dropped almost 70% in its second week, and that's an ouch by any stretch of the imagination, even for a Marvel film. So wait and see. But you could be very right on Thor: Love and Thunder, and I wanted to make sure I mentioned that before I forget. So
I'm just gonna write a note. What was the date today? May 19th.
yes, I give you compliments all the time, so you hush
I
on that.
know, I was
You
just being
hush
funny.
on that. You
I
you
was
hush, young lady. All right. But before we head on out, I do want to mention the other movie that's coming out this weekend, the indie hit, possibly, from Alex Garden. Alex, it's an indie hit that's coming from Alex Garland, who big movie I think is, if you've seen it, Ex Machina. I think
Yes,
that
okay.
that movie is a really good one with Oscar Isaac. Really weird, really different. Really had a lot of things to say and speak about just technology and things of that nature gone wrong after all that. But yeah, he really did a good job on that. He's done some other movies as well that's really connected with an audience. But well, his latest movie, Men, is coming out this weekend as well, and it's getting the same kind of reviews. It's in that same ballpark as Downtown Abbey. It's actually got a 66 right now on Metacritic, so it's not the biggest movie that he's done, or the best movie that he's done, or the most beloved movie that he's done. But with Annihilation that he's done, and 28 Weeks Later that he's done, as far as it's concerned. So He's written on that 28 Weeks Later, but he directed Annihilation, so that's something I think that he is really proud of as well. But Ex Machina has gotten all the press. But Men is coming as a horror movie to theaters this week. Your thoughts on Men as a creepy kind of horror film that could find a niche? It could be an indie hit for the movies this week.
Yeah, it looks like it has really good potential to be. I think some of the stuff I'm just kind of quickly glancing at a couple of reviews here. There are some suggesting that the horror of the movie doesn't go quite far enough, that it falls a little bit like a really good horror movie.
Mhm.
But what has me a little bit intrigued
Mhm.
is that Alex Garland was inspired to change the ending of the movie because of Attack on Titan.
There you go. That's saying very interesting indeed. But
Yeah, so
the
anyway,
the production company that made this is A24,
yeah.
which is very interesting that they released this movie now, seeing how one of their biggest domestic hits of all time, which could be in the next couple of weeks the biggest hit for them domestically, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because watch out, it actually climbed up to number 2 at the box office during a couple of days this week. So people have got to be checking that out. I think that's a lot of good word of mouth. So
Yeah.
if Men has any type of good word of mouth comparatively to Everything Everywhere All at Once, could be a good sign for A24. But I'm really happy for Everything Everywhere All at Once as it gets close to a $50 million domestic haul, and something that is closing in as the number one movie for A24 all time. So big props to Michelle Yeoh and everyone involved on that. But before we head on out, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and pay some respects to, speaking of movies, a great composer who passed away at the age of 79 this week, and that is Vangelis. And I know a lot of people are not familiar with the name, but you are familiar with two of his biggest movie movie soundtracks that have been made from the early 80s. The first one that he's well known for, and it's a song that I joke never ends, but it's actually a very beautiful song, and it won Academy Awards. It went to number one at the top of the charts, and that is Chariots of Fire. So if you are familiar with that song, even if you haven't seen the movie, you know the song. Do 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 do. Yeah, everybody's running on the beach and all that, in slow motion and all that. But
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and say the movie that has touched me the most, and as far as and his composing was a great bit of that, is Blade Runner. And you have heard this show, and you've heard Josh, or at least I've told you that Josh and I for years have praised Blade Runner as one of the penultimate, just one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time. It's one of the standard bearers for sci-fi visionary thinking and viewing, and part of that is because of the great soundtrack and the great music that's provided by Vangelis. That opening scene where you see the eyes and you see all the explosions from futuristic Los Angeles, and the reason why it's just so compelling and draws you in is in part because of that music that he created. So he's had other movies and other successes, but nothing like Blade Runner or Chariots of Fire. So, any thoughts on Vangelis before we head on out?
Yeah, it's definitely a sound that more people are familiar with than they could possibly realize. And when you lose people who are passionate and talented at building those soundscapes for those movies that we love and that we revisit and continue to talk about, and continue to have in discussions about modern movies, even though that was, oh God, I don't want to think about how long ago the 80s were, to be honest. But when you're still having those conversations, I think that that's such a true credit to the craft. And when you lose a voice and a sound like his, it is a loss for movie going in general.
Yeah, you have a problem as far as thinking back to the 80s. You think I have a problem thinking back to the 80s, that's for sure. But Vangelis, I do want to pay respects to his great work. And please, if you get a chance, check out Chariots of Fire, or as I would refer to you, please check out Blade Runner if you haven't already. It is just sensational. And part of it is in part because of the great work and the great composing of Vangelis. So respects, all respects to him and his work, and just thank you so much for everything you did for us, Vangelis, and all respects and condolences to your family. And hopefully, you'll be making great music up there in the big sky, as far as it's concerned. Hopefully, you'll be doing that. And
Yeah, man.
yeah, just making some notes out there. Just keep on
Yeah.
playing, keep on playing.
Whatever you do, make sure you put Prince on guitar. That's all
Yes,
I'm saying.
absolutely. There you go. Absolutely, indeed. But my friend, it's been a great episode. Cannot thank you always enough for stopping by as the fellow host on this radio show of dreams that we do each and every week. But any last thoughts before we head on out?
Yes, a couple actually. One is, have you watched a show called Centaur World yet?
No,
Centaur
I have
World?
not.
I'm not quite sure what I think of it yet, but I've watched about 16 episodes and it's
And you
just
don't know for sure what you think of it?
yeah, it's an animated show. It's on Netflix and it's so bizarre that I can't figure out if I like it or not, but I can't stop watching it at the same time. Maybe that's the point. But if somebody else out there wants to go ahead and watch that and let me know what you think, that would be great.
Is that next Netflix's version of a car accident that you just can't help watching it?
I mean, maybe it is. I don't know, but yeah, I'm really enjoying the journey of Horse trying to find her rider again, and yeah, it's really it's quite the show.
And last but not least,
Um, we hope to see you on 1:30 on Sunday for Vampires and Vitae. We're gonna have all four of us back at the table again, and we're gonna have to answer for some of the actions that happened last Sunday. So
oh, Robbie's probably
yeah,
licking his chops right now, just going
yeah,
to say, "Oh, we can't wait to get them back on Vampires and Vitae."
yeah.
Absolutely, indeed. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening, and here's hoping you have yourself a great day.